Welcome back, everybody, to our latest week of the Quake Pro League Stage 4. My name's Ketchup, joined by Flea, and our next matchup is going to be nosfa versus ZenAku.
Yeah, we just had a tremendous series between the two Swedes in the league. We had Sparty go head-to-head against the one and only Tox, ended in a 3-0 victory for Tox. But of course, the second matchup is no less interesting. nosfa from Brazil taking on ZenAku, an Australian of all people. So a very interesting matchup ahead of us.
100%. And nosfa is one of those players that we've always been talking about him as of recently, that we really want to kind of watch him reach that kind of next level that he was famous for at the start of Pro League, and has almost kind of just hit that point. There's just almost like a brick wall effect for him. So you always hope every week that he can reach that kind of next level. I know ZenAku, one of the newer players to Pro League in general. I know it's been quite the learning experience for him, it seems like. But even he as a player has grown to become more comfortable the more the weeks have gone. So I would normally assume that nosfa would probably have this one in the bag, but going into this week, I'm not so sure, to be honest.
I mean, I think nosfa is one of those cases that a lot of people had tremendously high expectations of when we started out of the Quake Pro League, right? I still remember him beating Wenger on the finals day of the kickoff event, QuakeCon, last year. And then now, ever since, he has just been slipping downwards throughout the rankings and the leaderboards. And I think that really just manifested in the Stage 3 finals, where, if I'm not mistaken, nosfa essentially just lost first to Dramis and then immediately afterwards to Genic, and he was out just like that, even though he started off being such a strong competitor. Meanwhile, ZenAku has actually been doing surprisingly well so far, winning 2 of his 3 maps or games so far, and then just barely losing to Saigip in a 1-frag matchup. So really close games, and I think that indeed we might be seeing nosfa go down once again.
Is that kind of like a semi-prediction being made already? You think this actually might be the ZenAku show today?
It might very well be the ZenAku show. ZenAku has been playing a lot, he's been streaming a lot, he's been grinding, he's really dedicated and motivated, whereas as far as I can tell, nosfa's kind of been on the down low. Now, so far, he did manage to beat Genic, right, recently in Stage 4 after losing to the Hang, but ZenAku, might be a different cup of tea that he gets to handle today. So nosfa, if he can bring it, and if he can play that famously aggressive brawler style that we know him for, I would still give the edge to him. But if he can't, then ZenAku is looking mighty fine himself.
Now, if we're going to be chatting about those good old picks and bans, the stuff we're gonna be seeing over the course of this series, we have another kind of common rotation, kind of almost a complete mirror of our first series, but in a different order. So it's going to be Awoken first, Blood Covenant up next, and then the Ruins of Sarnath for the third map. It's going to be Ranger versus Nyx, and then Visor, Athena. Just Athena in Blood Covenant, just her use in this game's meta on that map is just becoming so consistent. And then Strog versus Keel. ZenAku, again, using an opportunity to pick one of those larger champions. I feel like he's got to have like one of the absolute highest pick rates of heavy champions compared to any other player in Pro League at this point. I'm sure of it.
Absolutely. I also just love that ZenAku isn't going for a single medium champion this time around. Usually, the medium champions, they're your bread and butter, right? They're your comfort zone, and you pick out of that when there's a map or a situation or a matchup that you feel really good in, that you can shine with your light or heavy champion. ZenAku, this time around, he says, you know what, I'm going to start it off with Nyx, light champion, switch into the Athena, another light champion, and then to finish it off, I'm going to make something big happen with Keel, the big tough guy raining down the grenades, and going to be an interesting matchup to see. I think that a lot of people weren't really favoring Keel on a map like Ruins, because there's quite a few large and open areas, but we really saw him being used to great effect in the Stage 3 finals, so should be quite promising, I feel like.
Now, this is normally a point where I would ask you, what would your prediction be? But it does sound very much like your bets on ZenAku today, and it's not necessarily. It seems more so that it's because nosfa's just been a little bit quiet as of late, and it's kind of hard for me to call this one because you're just looking at how both players have been looking recently. But nosfa, it's just more down to the fact that I really don't want to sound super negative here. It just seems like nosfa hasn't quite been on form recently. And that's something that ZenAku is, as of recently, very equipped to punish, I think, quite heavily. Especially when you look at his picks. His picks are good too. Looks like both players are ready to go, and we're now loading into Awoken. I mean, Ranger versus Nyx. Nyx, as we've seen today, she's just a high-risk champion, isn't she? Because if you're playing absolutely amazingly, and ZenAku is the smart player, you can use the Ghost Walk in so many good situations. But when it's not ready, and as unfortunately we saw in the closing moments of Sparty versus Tox, it can be a real punishment too. Because if it's not there, it's like, okay, well, I've just got a light stack and hi, hello, dead. That's it.
Yeah, you're
done. Finished.
I'm really curious to see what nosfa we're going to have on our hands today.
Yeah.
Because even though you said it yourself, I might favor ZenAku slightly in this matchup, there's few things I want to see more in the Quake Pro League than nosfa hitting that same stride again that he had towards the start. He has the kind of personality and stage presence that no one else has in the league. He owns it when he walks up there, and he plays with such flair, such confidence, such grace that I really want to see him just hit those heights again. So nosfa, deliver, make us all happy, make us proud, as we are about to jump into our very first matchup. This is going to be Awoken, Ranger versus Nyx.
We are moments away from loading in now. And I'm going to be checking out things from ZenAku's point of view first of all. And now, as we start, the classic, the Awoken. Really, really nice damage. I know that nosfa was able to get that Mega anyway, but that Tri-Bolt was a good way to start things.
100 damage off the bat with the Tri-Bolt. Now ZenAku still wants to get his hands on the railgun. That is the one item that he doesn't have. Similarly enough, nosfa is also lacking the LG and rail. So again, this classic opening that you see all the time on Awoken, where players are just having their own weapons. nosfa, he figured that an aggressive Ghost Walk might be waiting for him, that ZenAku would appear behind him on the item. But nope, just a Tri-Bolt to the back as he turns around. ZenAku already left the room, so unable to capitalize off of it, but still a nice amount of damage to start things off.
ZenAku's already hit a really decent chunk of damage on Tri-Bolt, by the way. Considering he's had almost no damage for anything else, he's currently sitting at 281 damage with a Tri-Bolt in less than a minute. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good way to start the map.
All nosfa has is 90 damage from hitting one single rail. There we go. A little bit more is going to come out of that rocket, but it's ZenAku right now in control. Good rail, though. That's going to help nosfa out a lot as he secures himself the Mega as well. Very little delay between the items. Good read on the rocket there, too. Neither player willing to fully commit. No aggressive Ghost was coming out of ZenAku just yet. And nosfa also hanging on to that orb, perhaps to use defensively, waiting for the right situation and doesn't want to use it to push just yet.
Now, one thing ZenAku's always going to have to do really carefully, I might add.
Good orb.
Escape.
Oh!
Now, nosfa was already ready. Good shout right there.
Yeah. That was a really good orb too. He knew that ZenAku was pining for that frag, chasing him down when he was low, so he just orbed right up there, wasting no time whatsoever, getting himself the Mega, and then just turning it right back around with that beautiful railgun shot. nosfa getting the first frag of this series.
Ooh, good shot too. ZenAku, before he can even remotely see that nosfa was down there, he's taken a ton of that rail damage almost immediately. Ready for the rocket. That second rocket in particular was fantastic from ZenAku, the way he kind of just tracked it, knowing that nosfa went flying forward. More Tri-Bolt.
Yeah, nosfa was not ready for that. He had the railgun out at point-blank range, just kind of like whipping it around, flailing, hoping to land the shot right there, but would have done so much better with basically any other kit of his arsenal. So that rocket sending him flying definitely helped ZenAku a lot. Both items will be up at around the same time, and it looks like we're just going to get a passive split. Neither player looking to contest the other just yet.
Now, ZenAku did have to use his Ghost Walk to take that right as that kind of I take one, you take one took place, which means that ZenAku has to be quite careful here. We've seen what happens when a Nyx gets caught without Ghost Walk. You're just a light with no utility, no defenses. But good shots there from ZenAku. Tricky position from nosfa. Where are you going to go?
It's amazing that up until that one railgun right there, ZenAku's main weapon was the Tri-Bolt. That's what he had done most damage with for the first 3 minutes of this game. Right now, though, nosfa in a bad spot next to no help to his name, ZenAku. Is he going to make something happen? Good horizontal rocket jump right there. Just getting some speed, but ZenAku is waiting for it. And that was just classic Ranger, right? Because you know you take less self-damage from rocket jumps. nosfa was able to get that little speed boost to go through the teleporter before ZenAku got to set up a first rail angle, but unfortunately going up and through the teleporter made him an easy target. Almost on the map right there, that was close.
It was very smart from ZenAku too to not overly chase that frag. He knows that the Mega's up, he knows he has an opportunity to get a huge chunk of health. nosfa does not have a lot of utility around either. That was a really good rail all the same. The danger is he's quite weak, so even though he's hit a rail like that, the orb has been forced. ZenAku definitely heard that. Looking for some super shotgun. A scary position for nosfa. How do you escape with a stack this low? And ZenAku, hungry, looking for it. The aggressive ghost walk. Again, just in case. Looks he can't quite get it, and hang on a minute. Eats a rail uncontested, and just like that, nosfa has an opportunity to come back here. No, the tri-bolt! MVP of the map easily so far.
It is just, you're not used to the damage in those situations. You're not expecting it. When you're nosfa, you know, if I stay close enough to the front, the odds of being hit by a rocket are essentially 0, because there's nothing that the splash damage can reach me from. And if I don't walk out into the open, he can't get a rail angle, so I can definitely push out a bit further. But then the tri-bolt doesn't care about any of that, and now we're going to see an LG on rocket, and ZenAku manages to bring home another frag. Is pretty weak though. nosfa is going to just rush this with the machine gun. Can he find the damage, especially after ZenAku steals away the Mega? No, this is going to go painfully wrong for the Brazilian. ZenAku extending his lead.
Yeah, and at the same time, ZenAku getting the perfect call, and nosfa essentially turning immediately right back around, and he had the rocket ready. Now both players are going to miss their rails. The important thing is that no damage was done to either side though, so not much to gain apart from a heavy. nosfa's just trying to get back and get out of there. Able to hit one rail, which is certainly better than nothing in this situation, but ZenAku has consistently had way more control here. Just to compare, I mean, even the heavies alone, ZenAku's had 8, and nosfa's only had 3 of them so far. But some push damage. Watch out for those missed shots. ZenAku's looking to punish that heavily, looking for more rails. nosfa, I mean, he needs to really cement himself some momentum at this point, because ZenAku, he's the one that's looking the more comfortable here.
He also can't be hanging on to those orbs too often. You need to keep using them so you can continuously pick up the hourglasses, because otherwise, if you don't, Nyx is going to cook those up like cookies, and she's going to be so evasive every time you finally get that little bit of a lead. Both players painfully low. Can anyone find the angle? ZenAku. Oh! To peek into the face! Oh my god!
Oh.
I jumped back in my seat for that one. That just came flying at you. As nosfa gets himself one more frag to work with. ZenAku, does he want to stick around? Surely not. After Mega has been taken, the orb, the long-range orb to finish it off. nosfa, that momentum you were talking about is starting to build in his favor.
But also at the same time, he's keeping his timing on deck. ZenAku, oh, the missed rail. That one sucks. Can he escape? Sounds like a teleporter got used, but the danger with that missed shot is that it just gave ZenAku the opportunity to push out. And now there's a half-decent stack to work with. And at this stage, still a lead. And nosfa got some impressive frags, but it's still behind, having to work on this one. The tri-bolt just consistent. Tri-bolt doing so much damage to nosfa so far. This is insane.
And I love that ZenAku was just waiting for it, you know? You could clearly tell he didn't fire as soon as he could. He just waited and then just, like, beautifully dragged him over his opponent as nosfa uses the orb, I believe, to close the gap and chase down his opponent, tying things right back up 4-4. Now nosfa knows that his opponent's gonna get LG off the spawn. He needs to manifest himself and keep that position onto the Mega, which indeed he manages to do. Pretty nice split between the items, around 13 seconds. Who will be the first to set up for heavy?
That was a beautiful chase down too. The orb getting the opening damage for the rail and then being able to chase it down faster than almost any other champion can in that situation. So fast. Now ZenAku's looking for a little bit more of that tri-bolt. I mean, it's done wonders so far and it's been working so good. But now we're close. Just over 2 minutes, sorry, just under 2 minutes. More accurate. Left of this map. And now nosfa keeping the stack high. Orb is ready. Opening rail just to make him sweat. Now from this situation, really good second rail, and the orb almost looking a little bit like he was trying to fake it out and chase it. Looking for the final shot would have been absolutely Insane to land that shot right there. Would have put ZenAku significantly far behind, but now we're still kind of even. Rocket not able to hit its mark, though. Mega gets taken by nosfa, so...
Yeah, ZenAku has to be careful right now. With a minute left to go, if he drops a frag right now, it's going to be so difficult, and that jump, that's gonna cost him. Nice little fakey there, managing to avoid his opponent just a bit longer. Out comes the Ghost Walk once again, nosfa. Trying to cut him off, won't quite get the rebound, but we'll find him here though. ZenAku taking so much damage. Will he be able to secure the Mega as well? It's like he won't stick around for that. The smart decision, no dog, but look at that monster stack on the Brazilian. ZenAku will fall. This is going to be difficult.
Up until the last second, and now the orb's ready to rock, but he doesn't even need it! nosfa fighting hard until the last second, and the problem for ZenAku is that he's worked so hard to reach this point, and here comes nosfa anyway. He started to hit those rails, he started to find himself a bit more. And also, I mean, the use of the orb has been great for chasing down as well. It's just been really, really unfortunate. And oh no, the teleport gets him away! He needed to chase it down. He's got 10 seconds. If he gets a spawn now, there's a slight chance. There is going to be some health bubbles too, but I mean, where's he going to be? He's appeared almost completely the opposite end of the map. He finds it. Oh, he's so close. Yeah. So close.
He could have still gotten a side of him if he went for heavy right off the bat, but didn't quite manage to read the spawn right, and that'll mean that nosfa takes the first map. This has been an exceptional day already, Ketchup. This is our 4th map in a row that ended with a 1 frag difference. These players are so closely matched, such intense and tight games up until the very final moments. This is promising for what we still have in store for us today.
I think so. And nosfa, the moment he started to hit a lot more of those rails that were in a position where they weren't returned, you know, and that's ultimately, I know it sounds painfully simple, right? But in those encounters where you've got one champion that has a larger stack than the other, just naturally, and then they start hitting those rails, and nosfa's hitting them all, and ZenAku's kind of just getting those small misses. All that really does is then immediately put that weaker champion on the back foot. And then if nosfa doesn't even need to use his orb, I mean, his use of the orb was spectacularly good on that map, because, I mean, it wasn't used exclusively for fights, was it? It was used for that almost you can't escape situations that nosfa was put on, where I go one way, I get you. If I teleport, I can still get you. And you're kind of stuck here. And there was, you know, about 3 separate encounters where nosfa was able to do that, and you just can't chase it down. ZenAku, the use of the Ghost Walk was definitely kind of hit and miss, and if you haven't got it and the orb's ready, you're not escaping it, you're not getting away. And nosfa, I mean, it is that element of flair, isn't it? An element that he's so famous for, and Ranger's a great pick for that, and he played exceptionally well.
Oh yeah, the orbs were absolutely phenomenal. But on the other hand, I also think that the Ghost Walk is used expertly as well by ZenAku. We saw a lot of really good Ghost Walks come out. He used it liberally, which is something I always like to see, because you very often have players who hang on to it just a tiny bit too late, and then when they do pop it, they've already eaten a rocket to the face, and they are left in a really bad situation, even if they do manage to escape. ZenAku was not like that. He used it when the danger was real, and he avoided so much damage by using it. But on the other hand, we also saw quite a few aggressive Ghost Walks come out, where he just completely fake it and juke it out his opponent to land very often a good amount of tribal damage, because that was really his star weapon through and through. But on that note, it will still have been nosfa to take map 1, as we're about to load into the second one. This will be Blood Covenant, where we get to ZenAku play the Athena up against the Visor. And Athena, this is a fan favorite, right, Ketchup?
Especially now, sorry. Right as I went to say my word, I inhaled air, and somehow that's difficult for me. Athena, she's just growing in popularity. The more we start to play, I know she was, when she very, very, very first hit the scene, she was super tricky, right? She is a unique champion when it comes to what she brings to the table, what she can do. It's why she is so insanely good on some of these maps, and Blood Covenant really kind of being that premier pick. But on the subject of ZenAku, it's got to be said, he's looking a lot more confident these days, isn't he? He's looking more like he's kind of found his feet. And now he just believes a little bit more in what he's doing and the decisions that he makes. There's more confidence, there's more pushes, there's more aggression. Yep. It looks like a different player to when he started. I've got to say it.
I mean, it's a core part of Quake, right? It's like the Matrix. You have to believe Ketchup, if you don't believe, you'll never make the jump across. And ZenAku, I think he is starting to believe in himself more and more. So it's going to be quite curious to see how he approaches this matchup. Immediately a nice rail in nosfa's back to start things off with. Around 7 seconds between the items. First one will be Mega. nosfa manages to secure that. ZenAku not looking to leave just yet. Hang on, the damage is huge. But nosfa, of course, he knows that Heavy is up behind him, and it's a race. Who'll be first? ZenAku coming from down below, sneaks underneath him. What a frag! Helped, of course, by that hook that can give you such a tremendous horizontal speed boost. He just flew right underneath nosfa's feet and then just bounced him up with the LG a bit more. Beautifully done.
I mean, we were just talking about how she is one of the absolute most meta picks on a map like this, and that's kind of why. Just the ability to go where she wants, when. It doesn't matter how high up it is, it doesn't matter how fast she needs to go. That is a great rail to start with too. ZenAku ready for the drop down, misses the shot, but the idea was there, and the stack is pretty immense. A chunky delay between the two items too, which means that if ZenAku is able to, he can run this complete circuit and be more than comfortable. But he's looking for extra angles first. ZenAku knows the Mega's in the bag. It's all about seeing, can I get information first? Can I get damage first? But now it's just the Mega.
Very important thing for ZenAku to pay attention to now is, of course, that he hangs on to the lead that he has. Because that's something that I feel like I've seen him do a fair bit. He gets these really promising starts, last map too, but then it just kind of fizzles out toward the end. Good rail from nosfa there, though. That is going to give him a decent amount of leeway, making his way onto the Mega. Look at nosfa, just the raw aggression when he's got so little stack to work with himself. That rail miss. That rail miss saved his skin.
Oh!
And then he's gonna get chased down. Yeah. nosfa popped the Ghost Walk right there, or the Ghost Walk, what am I saying? The piercing side to help him keep track of his opponent. And he has to keep doing that. He has to be very proactive in using the Ghost Walk when trying to counter someone as fast and nimble as Athena. And ZenAku unable to dip out of the room in time. 2-1 lead for the Brazilian.
Gets a little bit of extra damage. Not going to be for the damage, more just to know that, hey, look, the spawn was correct. And he is going to be where I think he is. And nosfa, what absolutely has to be said is that he's hitting some really good rails. That didn't count as a curse because I said it after he missed, but he has been hitting some really important shots that just put ZenAku on the back foot. Enough to make him not super confident, and then he's got the edge. Speaking of which, looking to hit another one, unfortunately doesn't quite hit its mark. Ooh!
Yep. Bit of an unintentional rocket jump right there coming out of nosfa. Nice vertical rails though. One more should do the trick. But ZenAku, he's got that speed. Grappling hook allowing him to leave the room, but he's still not in a good spot right now. Does he even want to stick around and make a move on Heavy when nosfa has such a significant stack advantage? Looks like he doesn't. The Australian will turn around and save his resources to fight another day.
Some bonus tri-bolt though. We talked about ZenAku hitting that magic tri-bolt so many times on the previous map. The danger here again is to stack, or lack of, in ZenAku's case. That one tri-bolt has allowed another clean cycle of the items. nosfa is able to get them happily. And ZenAku having to just focus on getting those lights.
Clearly, nosfa has been paying some attention to ZenAku's tri-bolt on the previous map because he is learning that was a disgusting amount of damage right there to completely set his opponent back in a position where he couldn't find from. I don't think ZenAku heard the piercing side being used. So he might not really know that it's gone.
nosfa's rail accuracy has been incredibly strong on this map. And against someone like Athena, who's just as agile as she is and how she truly can be anywhere, nosfa's just how prepared he is highly impressive. And it's making such a difference too. ZenAku, he's just not really been allowed to exist on this map yet. And ever since that first early delay that was put in between the two items, that's kind of been the skeleton key for nosfa keeping the control over the whole map too, because there's such a delay in between the two of them that nosfa, he's getting this crazy damage, he's getting these frags, but at no point is he ever down on stack either, which in turn means that ZenAku has nothing. It's some LG though, but it's not enough because of the stack that nosfa has to work with here.
Loving the tribal there, though. The defensive tribal, he probably would have died if he hadn't been able to cut off his opponent like that. ZenAku does secure himself the heavy. Got next to no health to work with, but at least he managed to ensure that his opponent does not get a hold of the item. And now he might be able to maneuver himself onto the Mega. This ZenAku damage it there.
I think also from here, nosfa, a good awareness to not overstay his welcome. As we can see right now, the second he knew that ZenAku had that large stack, it's right. I'm going to disengage, I'm going to back off, and I'm now going to look for those rails again. Any opportunity to get that damage before it's returned, kind of just like that. That piercing sight leading to 2 rails. That third one would have been almost a death sentence for ZenAku. But now, the 2 rails has given him an opportunity to just put himself back on this map. That 1 mega light wasn't quite in play. Hey, timed well. And nosfa. ZenAku pushing forward. Missing that rail could be punished quite heavily. And just like that, we can now see ZenAku. These rails are just causing him so much trouble, at least for nosfa. He's been able to give himself...
Yeah, Mega will be going to him as well. Now ZenAku once again on the back foot. Beautiful rocket into shotgun, of course, aided tremendously right there by the piercing sight ability. Such a powerful tool. You can get a clean read on anything your opponent is doing and react accordingly.
Looks like ZenAku again. The danger is that you almost worry at this point that nosfa is consistently showing that if there is like a point to funnel damage, if there is a doorway or if there's a tunnel or something like that, that nosfa is consistently the one that's more in position to get that first piece of damage. Again, ZenAku, kind of defensive rail not hitting its mark. nosfa's just been having that damage on deck, and it's been causing ZenAku so much trouble that the mobility at this point doesn't really seem like it's making a huge deal, because nosfa's still hitting his shots, he's still able to control, and another excellent rail, the piercing sight, just to make things so much worse. That I mean,
all you need to look at is the damage right now. nosfa has more than twice as much damage as his opponent, and a huge chunk of that falls on the railgun. nosfa 61% rail, and that accounts for 1.6k damage. Compare that to just 300 damage with rockets and 500 with LG. It is the railgun show for nosfa, and look at it. Even at a range where he could be using LG, he just confidently sticks with the railgun just to dish out the damage like that.
And also, kind of has to be said that ZenAku only really unfortunately able to hit 16% rail, 2 out of 12. His accuracy it's been very much one extreme or the other, where nosfa has just been having a fantastic game of rails, and ZenAku kind of the opposite effect, where he's just never able to return this damage. And if he can't return this damage, I mean, this is just a playground for nosfa at this point.
You can tell that nosfa, he's got the combat abilities, but he's also has just got such great fundamental knowledge of the game. That rocket, that could have absolutely been a hit, and now ZenAku trying to chase his opponent down. He knows, a minute left on the clock, he needs to make something happen now. But 7 frags, that is so much work cut out for him, and it seems unlikely that he'll be able to even put a dent in this defensive framework that's his opponent has set up. Just look at that, the rocket into rail once again. nosfa is just not slowing down at all.
ZenAku, he's just not been able to exist on this map. nosfa's been hitting way too much shots. ZenAku has very much struggled to kind of return the favor. And then you look at the knock-on effects of that too, where if you're down on damage, if you're low on life, like, what do you really do? You know, can you fight for certain items? At this point, nosfa's going to let it get taken, because who cares? We can now start to play defensive. The map's already long won, thanks to the difference. And what?
Why not, Ketchup? Why not?
Go on,
he
then.
is styling right now.
Oh no! Oh, you know he was looking for it. He was looking for that that one little thing to just tie off the highlight reel that has been this map for nosfa. Things are done. We're done. GG.
Yeah. nosfa hit 60% rail and did over 2000 damage with the railgun alone. You sometimes see maps where players don't even do 2k damage with everything combined, but nosfa managing to net himself that with just a single weapon. And I think that just really was the determining factor here. Every single time ZenAku tried to make any move, his opponent just punished it. Even when he was zipping around the map using that hook, nosfa still just managed to land those shots, and ZenAku, with the limited stack that you already have when you're playing a light champion like Athena, just never was able to confidently get an item and then just get away to build something. So unfortunately for him, but that clearly went in nosfa's favor.
And they were almost dead even on items too. Like when we're factoring in things like the light armors, the mega, the heavy, that wasn't even something that, you know, when you look at a map with a score like that, sometimes you'd look at those items and it would be heavily in the favor of someone else. It wasn't even the case here. It just came down to, in between the items, just how much damage was consistently just being hammered out there by nosfa. And it has to be said, right, too, 60% rail against Athena on one of her absolute most devastating maps. That's impressive in its own right, and a great chance to see nosfa just return to form, look really good in the process.
60% rail, that's the kind of thing that you say, oh, that's nice, when you're hitting it on, say, a Keel on a different map. Not just when you're hitting it against Athena on Blood Covenant. So absolutely nosfa warming up, clearly showing that he deserves to be up there in the NA leaderboards. And as I said earlier, right, I think there's so many people watching who want to see that flair, that personality once again rear its head. And it kind of feels like nosfa's starting to deliver.
Yeah, and our final map is going to be Ruins of Sarnath. So we do get to see ZenAku bring out one of the big bodies, something that he's known for at this point. Really does like using those larger champions. And then nosfa going in with the Strogan Pika, of which we've seen already today, thanks to Toxic. But Keel on Ruins. There was a time where you wouldn't link the two. You wouldn't link that champion on this map. And over the course of the last few months, we've started to see it really become more popular. And it's just the threat that Keel can establish on those really prominent parts of a map. You know, the grenades and the stack combined. It can be a bit of a nightmare, can't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And as you know, when it comes to Ruins, there are so many of those little choke points where you have to push through to make your way into the heavy room or into the LG room. And there's a lot of places where he can just shine. Typically, Keel on a map like this, he'll want to stay away from the open areas, right? So he doesn't really want to go over towards the heavy nailgun side of the map or all the way down below to that bottom green armor. But he typically just wants to keep control of the key places and areas of the map, as you just said yourself, because that's where those grenades just shine, and where that extra body mass that he has, that extra stack, just really helps him out in these close quarter brawls.
Now, a danger, and something that I'm a little bit concerned about on this final map, is that nosfa has been... His rail accuracy on Blood Covenant was phenomenal. The danger is that now we're going on a very rail-heavy map, with a champion that is going to be able to move considerably better than Keel can. And the fact that Keel is one of the larger champions and easier to hit. So if we're looking at just champion versus champion, nosfa is going to have quite the time here. But this is ZenAku, well experienced with these larger champions, and he knows to spring those traps and to get those unusual situations where those grenades can just work.
Immediately off the bat, a very little of a delay between the two items right there. Out comes the peeker off the bat. No damage done, no harm, no fall. And nosfa already starting to set up a little bit of a trap. He wants to get that sneaky opening damage as he delays the mega. That's going to be around 10 seconds put between the items. nosfa immediately wants to continue basically what he's doing on the previous map. He wants to get that rotation going in his favor from the very onset of this map.
As we can see immediately, that kind of hit and run style. However, ZenAku is chasing this down with some massive damage of his own. Just like that, 1-0. He's got himself the lead here. Takes a fair amount of damage in the meantime.
Again, how is ZenAku going to be able to deal with this moving forward? Ketchup, this is the third map in a row that he managed to get the first frags, but then afterwards it all just falls apart. So ZenAku is a good starter, but it's just that consistency over time, you know, that is just not there at the top level just yet. So hopefully this time around he can shine on the final map and still make something beautiful happen.
It's going to break out towards Mega. ZenAku is the one that's in a better position for this, though. Now the Mega's ready to go. The next objective, the fact there's a delay between these two items now, certainly not at the start, now means that ZenAku can put himself down here. And this is a position where nosfa's going to be a little bit more timid to push. It's a risky business jumping down here versus someone who's got 18 rockets, a stack that big, grenades as well.
Just look at that stack. That is just something to behold. Even with nosfa's LG right now.
Hang on. Oh! You know what?
That delay on picking up the Mega had me worried. The fact that he like swerved around the front of it rather than just pick it up with 1 point of health, that could have gone bad. Rockets and nades and the suicide! No! A bit too eager jumping back down there, and he lands on his own grenade. Still though, ZenAku manages to get a good spawn, railgun heavy, he's got the stack, he's starting to get himself some of the weapons. Could have been a whole lot worse for a suicide.
I mean, we kind of saw one of the cheeky little strats from Pika as well, where Pika can sometimes exist specifically to soak up a rail shot, which gives you a free, kind of like split second to get a shot that's unreturned, because they can't recover right now. They're still in the cooldown of rail shots. And it so nearly costs ZenAku everything. These fights, I mean, he has all of the health and he has all of the armor, and he has the positioning too. It's becoming too close for comfort almost every single time. Like, ZenAku is the one that's in the lead, yet I'm still quite worried for him.
Mega once again will be going his way, but the damage output is underwhelming right there, and nosfa managing to stabilize things a fair bit. ZenAku, he's got a good read, but he turns away a moment too soon. Such a good read, but then in the end he kind of drops the advantage that he has. nosfa should know that his opponent is painstakingly low, shows his face, gets rebuked by a rail, and ZenAku somehow still in control. It feels like nosfa is just launching these massive assaults over and over again at each and every one of the major item spawns, but ZenAku is just hanging on solidly and not giving his opponent an inch.
I've really loved watching the use of grenades from ZenAku so far. The damage he's got from them has been impressive, and even in some of those really funky positions where you kind of just need to get just enough damage to force nosfa away, consistently ZenAku's been able to do that. Now he's keeping this lead. nosfa towards the light. That is a bit of a sucker to lose.
Yeah, 2 rails. ZenAku still doesn't have a lightning gun. After that suicide, which is already quite some time ago, he still hasn't been able to pick up the shaft to work with. He wants to, of course, but he knows that it's risky, but these rockets are phenomenal! And there we go! nosfa just leaves him a bit of a present. He says, I know you still need the LG, why don't you just take mine? Perfect read once again. ZenAku's reads have been really on point this map around. The tribal damage. It hurts, Ketchup, it hurts.
At that point, that little bit of juggle damage from the LG almost looked like a favor for ZenAku, where it's like, I was trying to jump over this ledge anyway, mate. Looking for rails. nosfa.
Oh.
He's been able to be heavy, I mean, for one of the first times for him, and he's got the angle ready too. Perfect call out to take that light. It didn't even get taken in the end. But check it out, the spawning stack. The nature of heavies. When you have a lead like ZenAku and you reach a point where you want to start playing defensive, it's not likely to happen now, because there's still too much of this map left to go. But every single frag is going to take quite a large amount of work. That's ZenAku. Again, showing a lot of respect here. He has timing on it at the very least. The aim of the game. Let's get those weapons, slowly but surely. Looking for the rail. We had the right idea, just wasn't quite the right angle for him. But part of the work is done, where he can have these defensive shots. Look at the damage!
What?
I saw that from ZenAku's point of view, and I've never seen such large numbers in such high quantity. nosfa, no Pika for you. Oh my lord, ZenAku.
I was on nosfa's point of view, and it just... He peeks around the corner and it's done. That was it. That was just grenades into rocket, into grenade, into rail, and that was all she wrote. Just like that. How is nosfa going to recover from that? Because that is tremendous blow to the control he managed to establish, and also just to his mental state, no doubt.
It's the amount of work you have to do now as well. That ZenAku, he is towards heavy. He's listening out for the chase, and there is going to be a chase. Actually, somehow nosfa was able to thread the needle, but ZenAku, the damage was done. And I'm not talking about damage to nosfa. I'm talking about the damage to the game with that heavy being stolen away. Enough defensive shots coming out too. Looking like this should be another one. Here comes the Pika, but it's not going to do anything. nosfa, how are you going to escape this one, mate? The answer, not at all. I can't. Oh, no. Oh, doesn't quite get the finishing damage on the LG. nosfa, saving grace.
Let's take a quick look at the damage numbers this time around. It's a lot closer than the previous game. ZenAku has got around 100 more damage dealt than his opponent. And also has significantly when it comes to item pickups. Shotgun can be deadly in this situation. ZenAku wisely sticking back as far as he can, and it'll be nosfa taking his own life right there. This is going to be so difficult for the Brazilian if he wants that point injection from getting a trio victory still.
ZenAku, I've spent the majority of this map looking at it from his POV, and his grenades have been absolutely remarkable. Most of his grenades in the key moments are hitting completely direct, and now he's just combining it with even more. What is this kill rampage we are looking at right now? He's not even interested in changing weapons. He does now, the time is right, but wow. Genuinely, I mean, all I can say about that is wow. He's playing incredibly well, and the grenades have been so good to watch.
Nice little rail from nosfa right there, but with a minute and 30 seconds left to work with, this is a dire situation to say the least. ZenAku holding down the center area of the map. Rail versus rail as they're essentially touching. A very odd exchange right there. And ZenAku knows all he needs to do is run out of time, so he's just gonna sit up there. Even if he dies, he manages to do a lot of damage, and he managed to burn off another 20 seconds of the clock or so, and that is time that his opponent so desperately needs.
And every time there's a fight, ZenAku's doing enough damage that nosfa, I mean, he has to spend time recovering. More of the grenades, but this time they're not going to quite hit their mark. I feel like I cursed it again, but what's happening now is just, it's time taken. And the fact that it's a heavy champion too, who's gonna spawn with a giant stack, who's gonna have those grenades fresh off the spawn, making a comeback of this caliber in 30 seconds, just like that. I mean, I'm not gonna say never until it's done, but I mean, the stack is there, the grenades are there. If you spawn near a rocket or an LG, you can fight. You can make it hurt.
And that's one of the biggest strengths of these big champions, right? Yes, they might be easier targets, but off the spawn, they just have such a tremendous stack advantage. It is incredibly difficult to take them out. And now 2 frags. nosfa, he has to be so quick, and I think that he just squandered his opportunity.
I think the map's too big.
The frag now. Yep. That's going to be it. ZenAku is even gonna go for the gauntlet. And that'll be all she wrote. ZenAku at least managing to secure one more map towards the end. So that is going to be a 2-1 victory for nosfa, the Brazilian player representing Blackhawks Gaming. Well played. I wish we could have seen that ZenAku from the end earlier, though.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, I think that entire replay is just going to be a highlight reel of insanely good grenade usage. But yeah, it's just in the middle of that map, that huge divide that he'd created once we hit the final stage of the map, and you know, he can start being defensive, and there was a small resemblance of a comeback. I think ZenAku had done so much damage to reach that point that it was not an impossible task, clearly, but the nature of a map that big, he found him almost every time when he spawned. He just didn't have the time left to work with. And I mean, got to give it to ZenAku. He played incredibly well in those final stages. nosfa just couldn't quite finish it. Even down to there were a couple of mistakes too. They're checking out the highlight reel. There were a couple of really, what could have been crucial mistakes. But ZenAku, up until the 5-minute mark, he still had that dominant lead. nosfa not able to get a single frag. It was a good map all round.
ZenAku's positioning was just immaculate for so much of this map. Very, very often nosfa would find him, and nosfa would do a good amount of damage because it was not at all as if it was ZenAku that had so much more damage than his opponent, like we saw on map 2, but it was just every single time that it really mattered, ZenAku just brought pain. And nosfa was in a bad position where he opened himself up to a lot of rocket damage and a lot of grenades, and if you're trying to push through the kind of stack that a champion like Keel has, that is such a difficult fight. And ZenAku, he stood his ground time and time again, and he made it work for the win on map 3.
And it's kind of like what we discussed already. The nature of ZenAku really sort of coming into his element a little bit more and looking more confident, more comfortable. A style of ZenAku that we just straight up didn't see during his kind of introduction phase. But now we're going into stage 4. It's starting to just look like he's found his feet. He's familiar with this nature of Pro League, and he's starting to play more like himself. And sometimes the champions are an extension of that. Sometimes he's just looking more confident all round. So although, again, this is going to be a victory for nosfa, and a victory, I think, happily taken if you're in nosfa's position, because the manner of which he was able to take that was really good too. I think both players today looked pretty rock solid and can be happy with that. But that's going to be our second series of the day. We have our next one to get into, and while we prepare the lobby, you know the drill by now, we're going to go for a quick break. This is Stage 4 Quake Pro League. See you soon.